Hello everyone. Decided to do a little lazy Monday modeling here. Started just fiddling around, I guess, with some modeling, I guess, in 3ds Max, and figured, well, why not just throw up a stream, I guess, at the same time. I don't necessarily plan to make this a regular routine as far as on the schedule, but figured, why not? Why not? So, yeah, I'm just still setting some things up there. My bot that I usually have post all my social medias as far as the Discord and whatever is not wanting to cooperate, but I guess it's being probably just as lazy as I want it to be, I guess, today. So, yeah, we'll get over that. So, I'm just going to post all to the social medias manually, since it doesn't seem to want to do that. Just kind of let everybody know that we're here. Anybody that cares to want to join. Okay, that should be good enough. So anyway, I kind of resetted, if that's a word. I kind of reset 3ds Max here. I was goofing around with a couple of different models. Not really goofing around, I guess, just playing around with this idea. As far as a couple of structures that actually exist in reality. One of them being, and I kind of posted in the Spline Designs Facebook group page, I guess, about it. I've gotten a lot of information about certain structure that exists in my neck of the woods, and decided to use that information that I had, I guess, and just apply it to virtuality. So that's a thing. I just can't remember what I did with it. So it happens to be, one of them happens to be this gateway arch that exists in Frankenmuth, Michigan. This is something that's been put up within the last couple years. I'm going to say it's probably no more than a year old since they put it in there. And it's contributed, I guess, by a particular donor, I guess, for that region. I guess that the total cost of the structure that was put into place, that is in actuality, like I said, in reality, was in the tune of like $900,000 some odd dollars, and it really shows. I've got some real life pictures here, I guess, to kind of show actually what I'm trying to depict here. Hey there, Bob-a-Bong. What's up, Bob? How we doing? Glad to have you stream. Yeah, I decided to do just a little impromptu lazy Monday modeling here. So, Racer James coming in too. How we doing? Glad to have y'all. Yeah, I was just, like I was mentioning, I was just fiddling around with some 3D modeling. This is kind of a lazy Monday, and I was going back and forth, and it's just like, you know, I could probably kind of show some of this, I guess, on the stream, so I figured, why not? These are some of the other things I've been working on besides some other projects got going on with Farm Sim 19 and things like that. So I am not really particularly designing this structure, I guess, for anything in particular. I just kind of, like I said, had the information available to me as far as the measurements, specifications and whatever, and I just kind of put it together, I guess. So it's not sure being around the whole stream, stopping by front. Oh, yeah, cool. Appreciate that, James. Glad to have you. But I do have some information on this thing here, and I'm just gonna excuse the desktop. It is an atrocious mess, but actually, I got a better idea. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna bring this up on. There's an actual website that has a lot of really good reference pictures to it. So give me a moment. I thought I had those saved, but I guess I don't. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, where did she go? Recently close. Let's see what I got here. Yeah, here it is. There it is. What I want to do is put this in a new window. Move to new window. There we go. So let me bring this over here for a second. So this is the construction company that put this particular structure together that I've just shown on 3ds Max, and it gives a little bit of information as far as where it's located. It does give some summary of just how big this is, so on. But there's a lot of construction pictures here. I've used these as well as other ones I've received, you know, from abroad, to actually get these dimensions precise. But it does have some really good pictures in here, I guess, as far as for reference. Let's give this a second to load. So this is in the construction process. You can see they have the crane. This is before completion, obviously. But it spans across the expressway going into Frankenmuth, Michigan. So it's kind of a entry gateway arch type of deal. These is all German. This actually means, the German translation of this is goodbye. So that's as you leave. That's on the opposite side of the arch. Let's see here. It's going to let me advance here. Previous, next, let's see. Yes, this is Frankenmuth, Michigan, yes. That it is, Bob. So these are all the construction pics of the arch in progress when it was putting this together. It's in 3 different sections, and this is primarily the way I've constructed the 3D model of it too, to put these seams, and I'll kind of show that here in a moment. You've seen that? Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, the fact that it's a pretty significant landmark, you know, coming into that region of Michigan here. So you can see how they've applied the one section of the metal arch into the keystone. So I've got that all constructed as well, as far as the dimensions of that. This is the form factor, I guess, as far as the form that they've used to build the keystone. There's 2 of them, one on either side of the expressway. I don't know if this is the same one or the opposite one. Digging the hole for the keystone. This is a rendering of the actual thing. This is not too, how do I want to say this? So this is not depicted of Frankenmuth, but it is of German descent. You know, it's got a German inspiration, I guess, to it. So, yeah, this is kind of the rendering that they did of that. So I kind of, now, in speaking with the construction group that put this thing together, you know, as far as actually constructed it, this is the only rendering they have of the actual, so as far as blueprints, as far as the 3D model, you know, a separated or isolated 3D model of it, they do not have. So it kind of encouraged me, give me some inspiration myself, I guess, to actually isolate that structure, I guess, so that it can be used in whatever type of scene that you would like, whether or not it be a German type of background, I guess, like this one's in, or what have you. But here it is next to completion. This is as you leave, and there's the sign I showed before. The German translation of that is goodbye. So that's as you leave Frankenmuth, going out the expressway. The other side is, translation to that is welcome. I don't know how to say that, so I'm not even going to try. But you can see how it stretches across the entire expressway. From keystone to keystone, at the widest most part is 150 feet. This to kind of give you some reference. It has 19 foot of clearance, of vehicular clearance from the expressway to the lowest point. It's got 19 foot of clearance. And I've applied a lot of these values to the actual model I've got depicted here. This is the entrance side, this translation means welcome in German. So it has, that's both sides, I guess, of it. And this is, like I said, next to completion of the arch. You can see they're putting the final touches on it. These are the close-up, I guess, of the castles, as they call these. It's in 3 different sections. It has the bottom parts, which has these tiers. There's the box section. This is all lit, too. It has LED lights. So I don't show a picture of that, but you can kind of see where they put some LED lights on the archway here. So a majority of this structure actually lights up at night, to include these signs and these castles. The Frankenmuth insignia, that lights up. But it's in 3 sections. It's got this bottom section, this mid section, and then the cap, or the finial. And it's got 4 of these, 2 on either side, as far as the welcome. And this is on the exiting side, based on the text there. There's a little bit closer look at them attaching these castles to the archway, as far as that dimension there. Different perspective, I guess, from the not sure if that's the exit view or the welcome view. Can't tell by the sign. That's just a different perspective as how high this thing is off the ground. Now obviously this is like in a lower depressed area on the expressway. It's not level, but it kind of gives you some sense of perspective on the scale of this thing. There's the welcome sign before they put it up. And of course, I already showed that, I guess, as far as the goodbye. And just getting back to that. So this gives you some references to what I've gone by as far as dimensions, you know, and putting this thing together. So let's go out of that. I'll just put this, minimize that. So that's what we got here so far. So it's not 100% complete. I've got the rough layout, I guess, of this, and I can show a little bit more detail of that seam. It's in 3 parts. I've obviously got this in more than 3 parts, you know, to get this arch to actually bend, and I guess in this fashion. But I do include the actual breaks that they have in the 3 pieces. So you have the 1 piece here, the midsection, and then there's a let's see if I can focus on this. By bringing it around this way, you can see the other seam on both arches on this side. So I've included that to just add some detail to it. Now, like I said, I do have this broke down in a lot more sections than that, in an effort to get that arch, you know, as far as to get it to bend in that fashion, and also to create that height. Now, I don't have such things as the Frankenmuth sign below, hanging below. That's where the 19 foot of vehicle clearance would come. I have this model set roughly to 0 as far as where these keystones are. This is all set to 0, so it's not raised or whatever. And the center section would be like in the middle of these 2 arches. Let's see if I can show that. I got these all grouped up. So like these translations are based on. Let me see if I can. Actually, I've got some rulers in here too. I can bring those out. Let me unhide those. One of the things I did start off with was a straight beam. This is the beam that I started off with before I started to bend it. So I've kind of left a copy of that. So that's one of the beams that I started off with that was a straight before I started to bend it. So that's just to kind of give you somewhat of a clue of what I started with. One of the rulers that I have is the 150 foot. This is based on 150 feet. This blue ruler represents 150 foot span. So there's that one. And I've got this also set to the 19 foot of vehicular. Whoa, my bad. Zoom in. There you go. This top part of the ruler actually represents the 19 foot of vehicle clearance. So this top edge is actually where going to be the bottom edge of that Frankenmuth sign. So that'll be 19 foot from ground to the the top, as far as for vehicle clearance. So I've got that all set in here. Now, one of the things I'll probably finish up amongst the many things I still need to finish up on this is I've already got these boxes, these areas here, I guess, for the Frankenmuth sign, which if you recall, when I showed that, let's see if I can show this one here. This is kind of a raised sign as far as the Frankenmuth insignia. I think there's a better angle, actually. Yeah, here's a better angle. It shows that it's raised. It's a raised portion. So that's what I've tried to depict here. As far as being a raised box, and I'll put that insignia on top of that. And then these areas here are already cut out. You can see the cutouts here for the diamond pattern. That will go into, this diamond pattern in here. That's all sectioned out to apply a texture for that. So these areas here will get that white with blue diamond pattern. Each of these I've already cut these out. Each one of these castles has that raised portion for the Frankenmuth insignia. This is a 3D model, the lettering or whatever for the signs. It may be hard to tell in the pictures here, but those aren't flat. They're raised lettering. You can kind of see the shadowing, I guess that's on that. So I've taken, just simple text on there and actually applied an extrude, is what would it be. So you start off with a flat texture, and you can extrude it to whatever thickness that you would like. And I've already got that all set on both sides, as far as for the welcome as well as the goodbye on either side. So you can kind of show off some of the detail, I guess, as far as the extrude on that, to include the border. The border has a raised aspect to it. The beams are obviously got some 3D. It's got the lip on there. These are manufactured, it's a pretty common construct for these types of beams. They're about 3 foot high, approximately, and there is a 3 foot, I take that back, and there's a 4 foot span. I have a ruler for that too, actually, for the distance between the two, and I believe I set that to, that's a 6 foot, I believe. I think that's what this one does. Yeah, I think that's what I set that up for. Where'd it go? Yeah, I think this is my 6 foot differential in between the two. So yeah, this ruler here represents that distance in there. What happened to my playlist here? Hello? It's just a lot of dead space there, unfortunately. Okay, let me see if I can find something else here. I'll go right back to that, that's fine. A lot of dead space in that one for some reason, I don't know why. We'll fix that problem. Alright. Cool beans. So, yeah, this, like I said, this ruler here represents the spacing. That's 6 foot. I mean, the inside dimension there, I guess, for the spacing of the two arches. And then there's these support beams in between the two brackets, I guess, to give it some rigidity. Something I did notice, I guess, in the process of building this thing, there is actually cross beams in between here that I'll probably have to put in here eventually. But there's cross beams. I don't think it's in every one of them. I'll have to look at this one again here. That's something else that I noticed in the process of constructing this thing. Let's see here. Let's look through these here and see. Find an angle of that. Yeah, so this is, you can see one of the cross beams like right here in between them. I'm still not 100% sure how I want to apply the rivets for the application of those cross beams. I'm not 100% sure if I'll put that in the form of a diffuse and then apply a normal map to give it some bump factor, as far as to give it some thickness, or actually make 3D rivets, just little buttons in a 3D fashion. So there's a couple of different ways you can go about that. See if it's got a better angle of, yeah, so you can see those cross beams in between there. So I may have to apply those. Those are just tubular as opposed to linear, I guess you could say. These are more of a tubular fashion. And it does look like they are alternating angles, I guess, per each. Yeah, the spacing of each of those cross beams. So that's something else I'll probably have to add somewhere down the road. Yeah, this is a pretty good view here too. They don't have them all in, doesn't look like yet. We're still in the middle of the construct of that. I don't think. Yeah, see, it shows them here too. Yeah, it's the keystone construction. Rendering. There's that one angle. I just want to get to that. Yeah, it shows them here. Yeah, I don't think it really shows a closer one, but for the most part, it's got alternating beams, one going this way and then one go this way, so far, so forth. So probably end up putting those in there eventually. So yeah, this kind of gives some idea of how I've put this thing together, just based on applying simple planar plane rulers, to get the dimensions I need. So we'll go ahead and hide those. Don't really need those at this point. This is just what I use to put this thing together now that I have it, as far as the height and orientation of it already set. Don't have really any need for that right now. One of the things I do want to do is start applying some texture to this. Right now, it just has simple color diffuse. So if I open up the material editor, you can kind of see what I got going on here. So I just got simple color diffuse. So I'm not using any type of texture, but I do have. I'll go ahead and open that up. Just a minute here. Let's go to. Actually, I should have that open already. Oh, maybe I don't. I think I meant to, just never did. So I got and again, like I said, excuse the desktop. It's a freaking disaster. Got lots of different projects going on. So what did I do with that? I named it. What did I name it? I forgot what I named it. There it is. So yes, I do have a texture started. It's still preliminary. I'm gonna check this out here. So if I open this up with PaintShop Pro, been working on billboards all day. Yeah, it's not hard to do. You get to working on stuff like that. You just need to have just about everything. So yeah. So what I've initially started off here is I want to apply the color for the arches themselves. I want that to be in a texture as opposed to just just a color diffuse. And by that I mean it's not a texture. This would be this is in the form of a 2048 by 2048, which is a pretty standard size for most 3D objects, depending on what you want to use it for, as far as for any particular simulation, game or whatever. If you want to use it as an asset or some type of library, for the environment. 2048 by 2048 form factor, I guess, for textures is pretty common. So that's what I've kind of started off with here. So I've gathered this information from abroad, it's on the internet, and have put together, I guess, the insignia for the Frankenmuth. I've taken pieces of that to make the panels and the diamonds, as I was showing earlier, on these areas, and that's what I want to get mapped to these actual things. So I'll probably, let me see what I got here. So this one's grouped. I have a lot of these things grouped together, so I'll have to ungroup that to get at the pieces that I need. So I think I will start with these castles. So I have this all grouped together. This is all by itself, the finials. I'll probably leave those alone for now. I don't have an area on the texture as of yet for those, which I'll probably need to apply a section. The biggest section is going to be for the arches themselves, which is the blue, which probably in all actuality I won't need to use that much area because it's just one simple texture as opposed to it doesn't have any. Now what I want to consider also is whether or not I create 3D buttons for the rivets or if I'm just going to use a normal map, in that fashion. But I want to keep in mind as well, if I do in fact want to apply ambient occlusion to this model, I want to keep as much of the model pieces not touching each other. So I don't want to overlap or use the same area of the texture that another part of the model uses, because that doesn't create a very satisfying ambient occlusion rendering. So as far as shading goes, so I want to keep that in consideration too. So probably what I'll start with right now is just to get this established with the logos on that area, and I'll probably have an alpha channel applied to this texture so I don't include the brown, since the brown will already be included on the backdrop of the castle structure itself. I won't need to have the brown included with the logo. So I've got these all in layers. So what I'll be able to do, see, I can turn these off in separate layers. I can make these into an alpha, where that'll have transparency and masking around it. So it won't necessarily include that color in that area. So even though I've got it in this area with the brown, it'll only show just the logos or the particular logo stamps or whatever you want to call them. I will use the brown area, I guess, to probably just this over here. It's a small strip, I guess, to do each of those castle structures, and I won't need to use that much for that because there's really no other details into it other than the color. So I'll probably just make these, let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to ungroup this, get these all separated here. So I got this in 3 different parts basically for these. So I'll map this, that, together. I'm going to ungroup all these actually, now that I say that. Get these ready to UV map them. Group that. And ungroup that. There we go. So now we've got this all separated out. Very good. So now what I'll do is I'll take this section. I'm going to apply. Now, probably the only downside to doing it this way as opposed to just collapsing this, I could go ahead and do that too. I don't have any other adjustments I need to make to this. As it sits right now, I have this set up to where, oh, this is group 2. Okay. Didn't realize I did that. Okay. Let me ungroup that as well. So I got a group within a group. So what I did here is each of these is its own entity, so I could probably collapse that. But I do have, what I wanted to point out is I do have the option of being able to go back in here and adjust the sizes of these. I still have that descriptor in here with a edit poly modifier. So if I do collapse this down, I'll only have it as an editable poly. I don't think, based on what I've got here now, I should not need to adjust the size of these yet or any further. I think I'm satisfied with all this. I could probably just collapse this down. That way I can just UV map it. I'll probably go ahead and do that actually. So I'm going to take this piece, and this piece and collapse that. And these are all conformed. I created one, grouped it, and then just cloned it and copied those to each of them, so they're all uniform. I can be assured they're all uniform. So So yeah, go ahead and hammer, go to collapse, and collapse that down. So now that's all one piece. That's one piece, that's one piece. And I'll do that to all these here now. Actually, now that so all these are, so this is grouped yet, I'll ungroup that. Get all the separate pieces here, so I'll select these. Go to the hammer, collapse, collapse selected. So now it's all one piece. Okay, go to here, do the same thing. All the individual pieces. Collapse, collapse selected. That's all one piece. I'm going to get these all into one piece so I can map it all in one piece. Group. Oops. Yeah, so select these. Now, I can even go even further if I wanted to. And I may do that. I'm just contemplating it, I guess. So if I did want to, I can take all this whole castle, and just collapse that all together. So like I can take this, and that, collapse it all together. I kind of almost want to keep this separate. Something, yeah. As far as just thinking ahead, as far as like being able to adjust that insignia on here, I may want to keep this separate, at least for the time being, and just go ahead and collapse these two. This will all remain the same color, but this also has a decal that goes on it as well. So I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep those. I might just keep these separate for now. I can always collapse it after I've got it mapped and see how that turns out. I think I might just do that. I'll keep this separate, all separate yet before I collapse it. I'll go ahead and map it, and then I can try to collapse it to see how that turns out. If it screws up on me, then I can revert back to keeping it uncollapsed. So, yeah, we'll try it that way. So, with all these now collapsed together, and I've got these all separate, just making sure. What I can do now is apply an unwrap modifier. I'll actually convert these to a poly, editable poly. I always get into the habit of that. You usually get a lot more options with an editable poly than you do with an editable mesh. So it's always usually a good idea to just go ahead and convert it to an editable poly, in case the option does present itself that you need to do something that an editable mesh will not provide you. Okay, so that's done. Whoops. So we got an editable mesh, editable poly. There we go. Now I'm going to apply, like I said, an unwrap. So I'll go down to here. I've already got, and I might have got a step ahead of myself there. So let's go to here. I need to create the actual texture that I want to apply to this, actually. So I got a little bit ahead of myself, actually. Alright, let's close that up. I'm going to delete this up for a second. Just for a second. So now what I'll do is actually create a texture, a DDS file, without an alpha for now. Actually, no, I'll go ahead and make the alpha. What the heck? So the way I create an alpha for this is I want to, in this layer, where I have those two insignias, let's see, I'll go ahead and select these, tighten that up like so. I'll go into selections, save to an alpha channel. It shows actually what that'll look like. So anything that's white is the only thing that's going to show. Anything that's black is going to be masked. So that area that's black will be masked off. So that's the only thing that will show through is those two logos. So that's what I want. I don't need to worry about that. So now with that done, I can go ahead and flatten this down. I'm going to keep it that name, so I'm going to go save as, and I'm going to save this as a DDS, and I'll get into the parameters of, yeah, so I want to keep this as Gateway Arch, Yes. Yes. And then I'll bring up this dialog. Now I want it as a DTX5. That's what does include an alpha channel. And in this case, I do want to generate bitmaps. And basically what generating the bitmaps will do is at different distances, it'll create a different detail level, I guess, to it. And because depending on how this structure gets applied, you don't necessarily want to have lesser detail at further distances. So I want to generate bitmaps. So the DTX5 generate bitmaps, I'll save that. And I'll kind of collapse here down, but it should have that DDS right here. So there's my DDS file. Okay. Now I can use this texture to apply to the model. So that's what I'll do here. So I'm going to create a sphere down in here. I don't think I have anything on this one. I don't believe. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't think I'm using that for anything, but I'm going to go to... I don't have it named. Yeah, so that's the arch. Eventually all these are going to get used up anyways. They won't be used anymore. Some of these I'm using it for the ruler, just to kind of give it contrast. I think I can go ahead and use this one though. So I'm going to set this to a standard. Okay, and then I can go into the diffuse. In this case I just use a bitmap. That's the common, even though it is a DDS, it's basically just allowing you to apply a texture. So if I go to my folder, I named it Frankenmuth Arch, there we go. So here's our texture. And then what I can do, once that's populated in here, I'll apply that to my selection. And you can see how that changed, which I know that's applied. So now from here what I can do is apply the unwrap. Now that I got a texture applied to it. Like so. And I can go into UV edit window. Make sure I've got that texture, which is right there. Now I need to conform that wire mesh, I guess, to where I want this to show on the texture. Okay. So you can see all the wireframe of that. I don't have it conformed to any form factor yet as far as normal map or flattened map or anything like that. So that's what I'll need to do next. So I'm going to try a couple things here. I'm going to try and select all these polys like so. And I can do this either from the perspective window here or right in the this window as far as the UV edit window. So I'll just do it like this. And I just want to confirm I got everything selected. Everything's selected. Okay. So now what I can do is try a different couple mappings here. Flatten mapping might work fine. We'll see how that looks. I can do it this way. That's not, and I can shrink this down. I can scale it down into that brown area. Keeping in mind, I want to keep them as separate as possible. In the event that I do want to apply ambient occlusion to it. Let's try a normal map, just for comparison's sakes. So there's a normal map. That's actually not bad either. And also a quick planner. Should be this way. I'm almost liking the normal map better. It kind of conforms a lot better to what that model actually is as far as the tiers. I might actually go with the normal map, so I can go back and forth between these different ones. This one here is looking like what I want, so I'll probably start with that. And like I said, I can shrink this down, scale it down like so to get it to fit in this area. Now I want to keep in mind I've got a lot more to map here. I want to keep these all separate as possible. I don't want to have to overlap these. So I can probably make this pretty small in order to get that all in for those 4 castles. and it should not affect the the way the ambient occlusion will apply all that much. So I'm going to shrink these down like so. Alright, did that stop again? I think it did. Alright, let's go to a different... there we go. Let's try that. That should work. Pause basically in the same area I did last time. Alright, so yeah, this is probably good to start with as far as the scale of that. Alright, now I'll take... Now that that one's done, I'm going to keep that unwrap in there for now so you can see how that changed. The difference between what I've got in the actual texture and then just a color applique, I guess, to the, yeah, as far as the spheres, yeah, just using this color brown in comparison. So I don't have it 100% matched, but that should be fine. I can always adjust the color and the texture once I get all the mapping done. So for now, that's good. It at least gives me some sense of contrast to know what I've got mapped and what I don't at this point. So that's actually somewhat useful to me at this point. I can see the difference of what I've got mapped and what I don't, yeah. So let's apply the texture to this part. So now that we have it in our scene here like this, and I want to actually mark this. Yeah, for now that should be fine. But I want to go ahead and apply that. It shows it's applied here. Now I need to go and unwrap modifier for this one too. So because I got these all in pieces like this, I'll have to apply that modifier to each piece. That may necessarily be the only downside, I guess, to not collapsing the whole thing together. Okay, so I want to apply that texture like so. And once again, I'm going to do it right from, oops, I want polys though. Right from here in the Edit UVW window. Select all those polys. I can confirm in the viewport that it is all selected. Like so. Okay, now I can do the same thing I did for the other part, is just see which one works best. So there's the flatten map. Okay. I can do a normal map. And also a quick planner. Now, a quick planner is kind of like laying everything on each of these panels all on top of each other. I probably really don't want that. So, it's looking like I could almost do a flatten map here. Now, it does have that section in here that I need to put. So, in this section right here, on each of these panels, I want to be able to put this onto it. So I can probably actually deselect those areas because I want to put that onto it. So let me do that. Alright, so let's do that. Let's go. So instead of selecting it all like that, I want to not include these areas and only the areas around it, because I want to put a different part of the texture onto that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select it in this way. And there's not a lot of polys onto this, which is kind of nice. So I can kind of work around this here like this. And even if I need to, I can hide some of these other areas that I don't want to work with just yet, just to ensure that I have everything selected that I need to. So you can see I'm leaving out these cutout areas, I guess, for that diamond pattern, but making sure that I get all the areas that I do want to map selected. Yeah, I've got a little sliver over here. There we go. Now there shouldn't be anything on the top. I got the bottom piece. I got all the sides, with exception to these being left out, which is what I want. So now if I go back into here, you can see exactly what I've left out. Now, this is the forgot which mapping I do. This is actually sufficient. I think this will work. Now, if anything, what I could do is just go ahead and turn this just to make more sense. So this would be the bottom and then the 4 sides with that poly in the middle of that. I guess I'll not include it. This body art channel. No, I put it on the just chatting only because it's kind of just a lazy Monday there, Con. So even though it does fall under, I guess, the makers and crafting type of stuff, it's just kind of a BS type of chat, I guess, as far as, you know, just a start conversation. I figured I was already working on these types of things, you know, just leisurely, casually. I figured why not go ahead and stream it. So no body art here, though. If you're looking for body art, you're looking in the wrong place. But I am applying some colors. I guess it could be considered art to an actual structure that I've got going on here. So there's that. So this I should be able to, you can see all the pieces that I got selected here. I can shrink this down, scale it down to fit in my area that I don't need it that big. I might actually have to increase the size of this brown, which is not an issue either. I want to know how to do this complicated stuff so I can build. There you go. Yeah, I mean, that was something I had considered too, you know, because to kind of show the thought process as far as, you know, what goes into this somewhat is the same idea, even though I'm not actually constructing a factory. It's the same idea, you know, as far as this is actually something in actuality. This is actually this is a structure that is in existence in reality, and I kind of showed that. If you're not familiar with it, it happens to be this structure that's in Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is not too far from me, probably about 30 minutes away. But this had been constructed. It's got a little bit of a write-up here. It was a $918,000 construct project, and it spans across the expressway coming into Frankenmuth, and it has a welcome message as well as a goodbye, depending on if you're coming into the town or if you're leaving. Just to kind of go over this a little bit. So there's the welcome as you're coming into Frankenmuth. And, whoops, I went the wrong way. Can I go the other way? That's weird. It doesn't let me go the other way. Dirty rat. Hold on a second. So here's the, as you leave, that's the sign there before it was, this one here should be as you leave. So that's German for goodbye. So that's going out of Frankenmuth. So yeah, this is what I've built based on known dimensions, I guess, as far as how much clearance there is from the ground to the lowest part of the arch, from keystone to keystone. I've applied a lot of all those dimensions to create what I've got here. So this is all to spec as far as the distance between keystone to keystone, distance from ground to the lowest part. I don't have that sign in yet as far as the Frankenmuth sign that hangs below this. Still a whip, I guess as they call it. Work in progress. So, but what I'm starting to do at this point, now that I've got a majority of this structure done, I'm starting to map a texture to it, which I have here started, and I'll make adjustments to this as I go, based on how much real estate I'm gonna need on the texture to apply that to the actual model. So right now I've got this one castle, as they call it. I've got this textured to this area of the texture. So here's the texture in the ADVWs. This is the window you would use to apply the polys of the model to your texture, just to put it simply. So what I've done is for this area, for this particular deal here, I've discluded or not included the areas that I want to apply that diamond pattern. I only want the brown at this point done, and so I've got that all set in here. And I want to keep this. I may need to adjust these as I go along, which I'm pretty much sure that's what's going to need to happen. either that or I'm going to have to apply more brown to this texture so I have enough room to apply all this, because I got 4 of these to do. So I want to keep these as separated as possible in the event that I want to, when I do go ahead and apply ambient occlusion to this. You don't want to have any parts of your model touching each other, otherwise it creates a not very satisfactory ambient occlusion when you go to apply that. So I'm thinking ahead, I guess, in that regard. So now that I got that done, you can kind of see what's going on here. So you can see the areas that I don't have mapped yet. So this area is not mapped yet. I'm still using just the default color that I've applied just via sphere as far as that texture. So it doesn't have the actual diffuse texture applied to it on this yet. So now what I'll do is I'll actually select, with still remaining in this this modifier, this unwrap modifier, I can select the polys that I want to put the diamond pattern. So I'll select all 4 of those, like so. Okay, now that I have those selected, I can go into here, and those are all selected here, but I can segregate those out now. Now I might do these one at a time. This might be the exception to putting them all in one area. I'll have to see how that actually looks, you know, based on ambient occlusion, but I may need to make 4 separate ones of these, possibly. Possibly. But I think what I will do is just go ahead. I don't want to select these all together at this point. I want to do them one at a time. So I'll do it like this. So I'll select one. Let's actually do one that's a little bit easier to get at. And in fact, I'll go one better. I'll select this piece and hide it, just to kind of conceal, or less than conceal. That way I can get at what I need to here. And I can always bring that back. It's just hidden. I didn't delete it or anything like that. Okay, so this, we'll highlight that. Okay, let's go ahead and highlight that. And in the edit UVW, oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this deal, so now I got that there. I'm going to go ahead and just quick planner this. There we go. That'll work. So it'll separate that from it. Quick planner would be fine for what I need to do here. And then I can size this up into that area of the texture. Like so. Now, I can, once I get all 4 of these in there to make sure they're all conformed to each other, I can do a grid snap if I so choose to want to, just to make sure they're all lined up. That won't be evident until I actually get to that point. I can get one set here, and I can look and see how that looks, and then go from there. Looks like I already got some texture issues here. I'll have to adjust that eventually. That was from piecing that together from the Frankenmuth insignia. That can be fixed. That's not a big deal. But at least for now, that's pretty decent. Now I can look and see how that applies to the actual model. And that looks pretty good, actually. Other than the fact I got that line going through there. I can fix that in the texture. But this is what I'm trying to replicate in this deal, as far as that diamond pattern in those panels. So I got 5 across, and it's got 3 rows, and that's what I've got. Whoops. Yeah, so it's got 3 rows, 5 across, 3 rows, 5 across. I don't know what is with these. Go here. Playlist keeps going. It's got a lot of dead space in there. I'll fix that. There we go. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, so kind of if you're ever wanting to learn how, I guess, how to this is all done in 3ds Max. That's my primary 3D modeling program that I like to use is 3ds Max. It can be done with other modeling programs like Blender. I'm not at all versed in Blender as much as I am 3ds Max. I've got the better part of a decade under my belt with 3ds Max, and trying to learn Blender is like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, to be honest. So I got that one done at least here for now. Now I'm going to select this poly, and it should still be over here. I'll do a quick planner, segregate that out, and this is where the grid snap will come in handy, because I'll be able to put this right over top of this, but I'm going to leave a little bit of padding to this. I want to get it close, but I don't need to line it up perfect at this point. Use the grid snap. I'll show how that works here in a minute. So I get it close, like so. Actually expand this out a little bit. And then if I turn the grid snap on, what this will do is it'll snap, in theory. It'd probably work better if I actually go to vertex here. Let's try that. Maybe. I'll have to do these probably one at a time. So if I go into vertex mode, get this little precise deal, see it'll snap right to these vertices, so I know it's, whoa. So you know, sometimes it'll do that. See, the primary function of the grid snap function is it'll try to snap to the actual extremity of the texture itself, which are these blue lines. That's why it'll tend to wonk out sometimes. But you can also use it for snapping your wire frame to make sure they're uniform, just as I'm doing here, so it'll snap right to it. This way I know they're perfectly lined up with each panel, so like one is not obscured more than the other, and it becomes uniform on the model as well. So I know it's lined up all the way around on both sides so far. So that's two sides done. Okay, so now we'll get this panel. Going to UVW and unwrap, so there it is in here. I'll do a quick planner. Shrink this up here. And I'll do that for each one. And this might be, like I said, the only exception to which parts of the model can be put, you know, overlay each other, I guess you could say, because the ambient occlusion probably won't be that much affected, I guess, by doing this. But as far as these individual castles, if I were to put those all on top of each other, the shading might necessarily apply, and I just know that from experience. As far as when you try to put all the same thing, even though it has the same color, if you don't have them separated, the way the ambient occlusion will apply, it kind of like duplicates the amount of shading that's in that area, depending on how many different polygons from relatively the same mesh, I guess, applied one on top of the other. And sometimes that's not very satisfactory. I mean, you can try it, that's for sure, to see how it turns out. But if it turns out to be not so satisfactory, then you can separate those out. But rule of thumb is usually you want to keep them as separated out as possible. Okay, so I got the grid snap on. I'm going to go to vertex here. Let's click out of that, and then I'll do one at a time. It's only got the 4 verts on it. And once again, I know those are perfectly lined up. You can see how that looks in here. So we're looking good so far. Okay. Alright, spin this around and get this last one. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and hide this one for now. Let's hide these pieces. That way I can get at when I need to. I can always bring those back. Those are just hidden. Go to polygon. Okay. Go into UVW editor. There it is right there. Do a quick planner. Switch this over here. Scale her down. You know, the more I think about it, as I just discussed there, I might be able to get away with putting all these castles in the same area. As long as I've got them all grid snapped together, it might be okay. There's not a whole heck of a lot of detail other than just the color application to the model. That's really all there is. There's nothing else to it. It's when you've got, in a lot of cases, when you've got like these insignias, for example, if you try to overlap them, sometimes it just doesn't look very good when you do the ambient occlusion. And whether or not I get to the ambient occlusion part of this model here is probably not gonna happen just yet. I'll do that next to last once I got everything mapped. Because you do have to have your texture fully mapped in order to apply ambient occlusion, because that's what the ambient occlusion is based on, is your UV mapping of the texture. So, alright, so that one's uniform. So all four of those are now uniform all the way around. So that much is done. So I can see they're all nice and lined up all the way around. Now what I can do, amongst the other insignias I want to apply to this, I'll go to this piece here and apply that texture as well. So there's the texture. Apply that to selection. That shows me it's applied. Now on this part here, I don't have this collapsed down. I can do that right now. I don't need to adjust the size of this anymore. So I'm going to convert this to an edible poly. That's fine, the texture is still applied. I kept it with the shape descriptor and all that stuff, and just in case I wanted to adjust the thickness of it or what have you, I can still do that just by grabbing whichever verts that I want to. It's just sometimes a lot easier to do it more uniformly if you still have that modifier stack there like I just did before I converted it to an edible poly. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with the scale or the size of that. So now with the texture applied, I can apply an unwrap modifier to this one as well. You can see the green lines. That's how I know that's applied. Open up the editor, apply the texture. Now on this one here, be it that it's just going to be brown for the most part. Actually, let me check this here. Yeah, it's all mostly brown. Now it does have a white background on the one face. So that's something I might need to consider. Okay. So I didn't take that into consideration just yet. So I might go ahead and I don't have a white area on this texture, but let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and back this up. I don't know why these playlists keeps okay, next. A lot of dead space in these for some reason. This is all from Techno-Ax, which is usually what I use. I'm using a different playlist than I usually do during Saturday streams. So, okay. Just making sure. So that's, these are roughly only about 3-minute songs, so apparently. But it's got a lot of dead space in a lot of them. I'm not sure why. I didn't take note of that, I guess, prior to showing those off, but oh well. So what I want to do, see, I need a white area to take care of that face. I don't need a big area. Sort of think of how I want to do this. So I'm just considering what areas I already got covered. I could just make another row. Let's do that. I'll make another row of white, and I'll just make it underneath this insignia here. I'll have plenty of blue left over, obviously, for the arches themselves. There's the brown. I'm going to create a new layer. Like so. Let's see, where do I want this? I'm gonna put this below that and make this white. Okay, and then we'll just create an area here, right underneath here. Oops. Now let's make this a little bit thicker. Whoops. Back it up a little bit. Increase that size just a little bit. Oops. Zoom in on this. I just want to mark an area here for the white. Make it roughly... I don't have to get real precise with it, actually. It's just an area I want to use to create that white face on that. Something like that. So now if I fill this in, like so. So now I got an area that's white for that white face there. So now I will merge that together, flatten it, file, save that as a new texture. Yeah, so go to DDS, yes, and I want to keep that as a DTX5, generate bitmaps. And I just want to confirm it's saved. It should have. One way I'll know is I go into here, go to view, update map. There's that white area. So I know that's updated. Oh nuts, why did I do that? Shouldn't have done that. What? Hold on a minute. Shouldn't have done that to those areas though. What the heck? Why did it do that? Alright, what did I do wrong? Shouldn't have applied that to the rest of that. That's its own entity there. Hold on a minute here. Huh. Interesting. Let's see here. Let's go here, view image. Okay, that's correct. That shouldn't have remained it up here though. I don't know why it's putting that on all of the rest of that. What in the world just happened there? Okay, hold on. Gotta get down to the bottom of that. Let's open this up. Huh. Update map. Yeah, see that area is right here, so why is that showing white? That's not supposed to do that. Huh. That is strange. Alright, let me see here. So if I go like this, that's new. Yeah, so it's all in the brown. Huh. Wow, I don't know why I did that. Let me render this really quick and see. Nope, it's definitely, no, it shows that fine. The rest of that is white though. What are you doing? Odd. Okay. Oh, I wonder if do I got back faces to that? Shouldn't be. No. Yeah, so what I'm wondering if I got back faces to this. Sometimes if you got back faces to it, it might do this. So these are mapped correctly when I render it. Alright, see what's going on here. Yeah, see, it's got the diamond pattern in there, just not showing the brown for some reason. Interesting, alright. Weird. Okay. Not sure why it's doing that. See, it's in the brown area. I should be seeing brown, so why is it not showing brown? Alright, let's do this. I'll ensure that this is all... I'm just going to try and remap it. Alright, just making sure that's all selected. It's kind of peculiar. It doesn't usually happen that way, but we'll work through it here. So let's try flatten map. That's what we start off with there, and we'll turn it each way. Okay. Shrink that down. See if this corrects it. What we got here? Huh. Still showing white. Why are you showing white? I wonder if it has something to do with the alpha channel. It might. Let me check that. Might have something to do with the alpha channel. Let me see here. Okay, so if I go layer 2, I think that was. Yeah. So go here. Ah, crap! I moved it. Why do you keep moving? Don't move. There we go. So, selections. Yep, so the alpha channel is still there. Yep. Alright, so the alpha, it's not the alpha. What the heck? Let me try and make this, whenever you make this texture. That makes no sense. Save as, which way? Ta-da, DTX5, generate map maps. That is really weird. Update map. There is no reason why that should be showing white. Let me try to collapse this down. Something's going on. I gotta figure out what. Collapse all. Yes. So when I render it, it actually shows the diamond pattern, but not the brown. But that would almost suggest to me that it's got back facing, which means it's got like a flip poly. So I'll have to check that. So let's go here. Shouldn't be based on the color of that. See, now that's flipped. So it turns dark. Weird. Huh. I don't understand why it's doing that. I never had that do that before, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. So it's showing this white that I've got on the texture as if it's mapped here, but that's not where I have it mapped. Weird. I've honestly never had this happen. Okay. Let me apply the unwrap to it again. Okay. What the heck? Oh, for crying out loud, now it's giving me this. This is usually not a good sign when it gives you these squares next to that. Something effed up, I don't know what. Wow, I don't know what. Something happened. This does not like that for some reason. Let's see. isn't it selecting this though? Huh. Weird. Okay, hold on. Collapse all. Yes. Alright, just making sure I can select those. For some reason in the edit, as far as the unwrap, it's not letting me select those polys. Not really sure why. I can select them this way though. Okay. Alright, I don't know what the deal is with that though. Let's see, let's try it again. See, now I'm not getting those squares, so that should probably... Okay, there we go. So it might have been because I had this expanded. That sometimes can be... usually when you get those squares that show next to each line, I guess, in the unwrap modifier, that's usually not a good sign. Because then you get that type of reaction, I guess, that we just experienced there. So, let's go into here. Texture. So yeah, that's mapped properly. I don't understand why the rest of that's showing white. That is weird. The way this is showing on the model is actually suggesting I have it mapped over here, which I don't. Really weird. And even that previous section I did here too. So it almost like I included white on the texture here, which again I don't. So I don't know why it's showing it that way. Huh. Why is it doing that? Let me see. It's almost like it's showing this one for some reason. So that default 17. This up here. 21. Oh, there it goes. So for some reason it might have been showing one of these other spheres that I got in the material editor. So now that I've actually went up a level to the default here and reapplied it here like so, and now it's showing. Okay. Really weird though. So yeah, that's the way it should be showing. Not really sure why it was doing that, but it might have just confused one of the other materials that I have in here, as it almost looked like it was applying this one instead. This is the only other one that's got it's white, so it wasn't the texture that I was actually showing. It was one of these here. Yeah, so okay, and maybe I selected that on that inadvertently. Wasn't really paying attention. Sometimes you can click on things here and I might have just inadvertently applied that, but I want this texture obviously like that. So there we go. That's better. So now let's go back to, I'll leave that modifier on there. Got this one on here with the texture. One here. Yep. So now I got that white area as I want that. I need that. Go to polygon. Now I only want to get these four sides and not that face, because I want to put the white on that one. There we go. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of as far as I must have just inadvertently selected that material, the material editor, put something and applied that to it. There should have been no reason that the texture was incorrect. It's showing good now, so that's good. So okay, so I just want those four sides. That's what I got here, so I'll probably just do, let's do a quick planner to see what that looks like. No, I'll probably do a flatten map. That might work better, yep. So let's do that. Scale this down. Now at this point, I really don't know. I know I have that area in here as far as the already used up over here, and I am using for these tiers, I'm already using a part of that here, so I'm kind of lost for that brown, so I might actually apply more to the texture to make, you know, give me more area for the brown. So I'm going to put this down here. Yeah, let's go ahead and put this right down here. Now I'm going to add some more brown to this texture. So let's put that right there. That's going to be that white face. I'm going to put that in the white spot. So I can select that now. That's going to be in the white. Let's do that. Put this right in here. And I probably don't even really need this that big, actually. As big as I got it here. But we'll leave it like that for now. So now I got the white face. Right now it's going to show blue, only because I haven't applied that to the texture, which I'll do next. So I want this to be brown on the border of that box. So I'll do that now. So if I go, where do I have the brown? The brown's right there, so I'm just going to add to the brown. Use the eyedropper. And I'll apply some more brown to this. Like so. Something like that. Oops. Just don't have it closed in. Somewhere I don't have it closed in. Yep, right there. Missed on the very end. Fill that in. There we go. So now I got a little bit more brown. You can kind of see how I build the texture as I map it based on what I'm trying to map and keep it separated and so on. I want to keep as much blue as I can because obviously that's going to be the major part. So it might end up being half and half as far as the brown. I'm still going to need a red area for the finials, or the caps, or the roofs, or whatever you want to call them. And that probably won't take much. I probably only need probably no bigger than area of the white. So I'm just thinking ahead as far as like what, how much room I'm going to need for each of these pieces here. Let me see if this actually, nope, sure didn't. Okay. Just checking making sure everything's running smooth. Don't have any drop frames or anything like that, so that's good. Alright. So that's good, like that. I'm gonna go flatten this together. File, save that as a new DDS. DTX5, generate map maps. Okay. Give that a second. Alright. Seeing it did it again. Week 30 you're at. So I might have to do that again. So it must be just a product of resaving that DDS probably. I see what it's doing now, I guess. No problem. So we'll go into this. Has never really done that to me before, but I guess I get why it's doing it. No, it doesn't want to work. Let's go this way. Reload. There we go. Just had to reload it. So it's just a product of recreating that DDS file. So now I got those borders of that that box part is brown, which is what I want, with a white face. And that's basically how this looks. So you got the white face on it. Now I'll be able to put the logo inside that white face. It's got the brown border on it. Okay. this is something I was thinking about. I wonder if I should just put the white. Yeah, since I don't have the area for the actual insignia separated out, I'll actually apply that insignia right to that white face. So I can do one of two things. I can either put that insignia over the white, or I can move the white underneath that. That would kind of eliminate the necessity for an alpha. I will probably still need it for this area. I just won't need it for there. Okay. Yeah, it just kind of negates that, I guess, at this point. So let's do this. I got just that white area. I'll probably keep that one there, but I'll just extend this out. I'll do a copy of this and just extend it out underneath this insignia. Okay, paste this new selection. Yeah, we'll just do it like this. That'll work. So now what I can do is when I map this, I might even center this a little better. An insignia. So it's got roughly the same amount of space on either side. So that when I map that, it'll be centered within that area. Okay, let's go to 2. So I'll have to redo the alpha for it. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Something like that. Cool. Now I'll do layers. Save that as a new texture. So now it is going to do that funkiness there, which at least I know why it's doing it now. It's just a matter of going back into here and reapplying the texture. There we go. Just like so. Cool. Now I should be able to map this area. Wait, do I gotta reload this? Let's update it here, as well as reload it here. Okay, that's right. So I'll have to move that mapping of this to where the insignia is at. That's right. So we'll select that poly over here. So I got it mapped down here, so I'll have to just move it up here. Like so. Not too shabby. Yeah, there we go. So now we got that map to there. And that's basically pretty much the same as this one right here. Marvelous. So that's mapped. Now if I really want to, I'll probably end up doing this too. Once I get this all mapped, as I do here, I can group this all together and then just clone that to the other 4. That would save me a lot of time and maintain the uniformity of each one of these little castles here. That way I don't have to map each one. I can just group this together, clone it, and put it in the appropriate position. That's probably what I'll do. Just so I know each one is uniform and I don't have to spend the time mapping each one independently. The only other part of this that I need to map is the finial, little cap, which I need to create a red area on the texture, to which I could probably use this white area now for that. Now that I've moved the white area here, I can just kind of make this a red area. So let me back this up. let's see here. Yeah. Need a new layer. And we'll put that still below that. Let's see where we're at here. So I'm going to put this in this white area here. So I'm going to basically just overwrite this white. The white will still remain as in its own layer, but I'll put the red over top of that. That way I can always revert if I choose to. So I'll use this color and just draw in some red. So it doesn't matter if it's crooked, that's fine. As far as what we're going to be using it for. Go like that. There, so now we got a red area, and that'll be for our finials. And we'll go ahead and flatten that down and save the new texture. Now, something I didn't do, and I think I'll do that right now. I didn't redo the alpha channel. So let me do that right now, actually. So what I can do, layer 2, I'm going to select this. I don't really need this to have an alpha anymore because I'm using that white behind it, so I do actually want that to be there as far as the mapping goes. So what I'm going to do is just put the alpha channel to this selection. So now I'll go save the alpha. This one here I'm going to get rid of, and I'll keep this alpha now, like so. So now that alpha is saved. Now we'll flatten this. So now we only have an alpha behind this and not this. Insignia. Still has an alpha, just not as much of an alpha now. Yes. DTX5, generate map maps. Okay. Give that a second to save. Alright, now we need to reload it here. There's our red. Good. Now, actually need to reload this in the material editor as well. Reload. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so now I can take, I'm going to leave that modifier in there for the time being. Now I need to map this thing, so I want to get the texture to it. So I need this texture applied to it, so I'm going to go apply texture, so it's going to change. So I know the texture is applied. Now I need to map it. So, apply the unwrap modifier. Get the green lines. Open that up. Cool. Now I gotta select some polys here. So let's go to polys. This is all one piece, so I can just drag select that. I don't have to worry about selecting anything else. And let's go around this like so. Just select all these polys. Now it should have some underneath. Yep. Make sure we get them all. I'll probably be able to just do a flattened map on this with no problem. Just going around and making sure I got everything. Now if I go like this, map, flatten map. So there's the flattened map of that. It's probably not terrible. Let me try a normal map. Normal map looks like that. Actually, I like that better. I kind of like that better. Only thing is I'll turn this like so. And then just scale this down. Yeah, I kind of like this better. So the fact that you can mix and match between normal map and flat map, quick planner, doesn't really matter. I mean, it's whichever looks good, looks better as far as the orientation of what it is you're trying to map. if that makes sense. Now, if I had some type of decal or something on this, I probably wouldn't use this. I'd probably use the flatten map as compared to this one. But since I'm only applying a color based on a texture here, this will work just fine. So now I've got this map to a texture as opposed to just having, you can see how much difference in color by just having that as a placeholder. I mean, I could probably match this up and apply just a material color within, just this simple, whoops, wrong one. So if I was to just use that same type of color and just change it here, that would probably work as well. That would require to go into here and actually apply the values to it and get that same color is all. So there is that option. You don't have to 100% do it by texture, but because I want to eventually apply an ambient occlusion to this, I have to have a texture to it. That's the only way that'll work. You got to have texture mapping in order to apply ambient occlusion. So it looks like we got the one castle here done, completely done, all textured. So now from this point, I can actually group this all together and clone it, and then actually replace, I guess, those there. So what I do have, need to unhide some things here for a second. Is this one of them? Yeah, so there's that. I gotta unhide. Wait, where's the rest of those pieces? No, that was my bad. Hide that. We don't need that. Trying to get all these pieces back here. I'm just trying to remember what I did with them. Should be all hidden. Oh, I see what I did. I did pointed to. There we go. So there's that. What else did I hide? Oops. Let's see what else I hid here. I think that's it. I'm gonna go through this just to make sure. Group 29 is. Let's see, group 29 is. Oh, okay, that was the sign. Gotcha. I can keep that hidden for now too. Yeah, so that should be everything. I collapsed those together, got that separate. Cool. So what I can do here, I'll group these. Yeah, I'll group these together. Like so. And I'm going to rename these. I'm going to do... I think I want to name these. Yeah, I'll name these Castle Placeholder. Or even just Castle Unmapped. That'll work. This way I know which one's what. Castle Unmapped. That'll work. Cool. Now I'll take this one. Now I want to keep it there because I want to clone. I'm going to group this one together and clone it. And then actually put that in the same position there. So I want to use that for alignment purposes. Okay, so I'm going to group this one up. With all of this here. And group this together like so. And I want to name this one Castle Mapped. Now what'll happen is when I clone these, it'll actually apply a number to it, like a 001 or whatever, so that I can tell the difference between the original one that I cloned. So that one's all grouped together. So now I can clone this as a copy. See, and this is what I was saying, so how to apply a number. So I'll do this as a 02. Yeah, I'll do this 02. Second instance of that. And then from here, I can take it, just move this over. And I'll have to rotate it 180 degrees, and I'll do an angle snap for that. Make sure I'm getting 180 degrees put this on rotate. Want to do a 180-degree turn. Like so. And then just line it up with the one that's already there. Like this. Just like so. Now, if I really wanted to get particular, in fact, I'll do that. So if I can select this one, I can get the coordinates of this one as far as on the x-axis in this case, as far as how far this way. I can grab the coordinates, the x of this one, I can copy that like this, go back into this one, and paste that coordinate. That way I know it's perfectly lined up on that x. I know the height and all that should be... Why did that work? Hold on. Paste. Alright, why didn't that line up? Hold on. And it might have something to do with not having it centered. Hold on a second. Yeah, I might have to center this. Let me do that. So if I do effect, pivot, center, that might be a deal. Check that. That way it's a 1-to-1. Okay, so do that. Alright, what the heck? 6 point. Being a turd. Huh, alright. I know it has a lot to do with the orientation of that. So the fact that should line up with that, but I don't know why it's not. That is grouped. Okay, just making sure. So the fact that they're both grouped should automatically have kept that this orientation here, I guess, the same, but it's maybe effect, center. Yep, that's centered. Okay. So why in the world aren't you? Yeah, the Y is this way. I don't want to mess with that one. I wonder why that's different. Let me check something here. I'll move this manually. Oh, I'm for crying out loud. I was adjusting the wrong darn thing. My bad. I was doing the Y. Duh. I had Y in the brain, but I was actually adjusting Y when I needed to adjust the X. That's why it wasn't moving. Okay, that makes sense. But it didn't probably hurt, I guess, to center the orientation of each of those groups, just to make sure that it's going to line up like it should. So what I need to do is copy the X, not the Y. So I copied the Y. This is the X I need to adjust here. So I'll go into here and apply that X here. There we go. Now it's lined up. Perfect. Now this other one, I don't need it anymore, so I'll just hide it. That's going to be this one right here. So that one I can hide. There. Now I got a clone copy of this one here in that position of the previous one. And I don't have to do all the mapping individually. And I know it's uniform to the other one. So that's done. So I'll do the same thing with these two over here. I'll group this up. Yep, just group this one up. And then this one here, I'll need the Y. So if I clone it from this one, I'll need the Y to get that in the proper position. So I'll do group that together. And I'll call this castle. Unmapped. And what this should do, if I name it this way, it'll already apply a number to it, because I've already got one that's unmapped. Okay, I didn't do it to this one. Did it do it to the one that's hidden? Let me see here. Nope, it didn't. Okay, so that's fine. Usually what'll happen is when you name something that's exactly the same, it'll actually apply a number to it. So I might have put a space in there or something like that, but it won't really matter because we'll probably won't end up keeping those anyway once we get those into position, the new ones. So that should be fine. Okay, so with that done, this is grouped together. Now I want to clone this one. Create a new instance of that, copy, and I'm going to name this 03. Just take a 0 out of it. Like so. Copy that, and then I want to actually copy the Y on this one so I can move that over to the... This one I do need the Y, not the X. Kind of made that mistake on this one. So now I want to select number 3. Okay, and then copy that Y. Paste that Y in this case now. And I'll put that right there. And then this copy of the unmapped, I can hide that now. There. Now I got a clone copy of that in that position. So I'll group this one up. Do much the same thing. Okay. So let's group this, this, and that. So I just want to check something here quick. Do I have... Yeah. I was trying to remember if I grouped up the... Yeah, for the Frankenmuth insignia on the other one. I couldn't remember. In fact, what I can do real quick is I can go... Let's do this. So if I do hide... that's what I thought. So I didn't group that up in there. I didn't think I did. Alright, let me bring that one back here really quick. So I got 2 unmapped, I should say. Let's get figure out which one. Okay, that's the right one. Alright, so let me ungroup this. I want to group that all together properly. Ungroup. Yeah, I didn't think I selected that. That's why I wanted to check. There. Now I'll group it this way. Alright, so... Okay. Now I'll hide that one. And then unhide my number 3. That's what I want there. There we go. Cool. Now I got that grouped properly. Yeah, it really's got a lot more pop, I guess, to the color too, based on the texture, in comparison to this simple color that I put to it in the material editor. Okay, so now I need to group all this one up. Group and do. Okay, now I'll clone this one. Actually, I can do one of 2 ways. I can clone this one and rotate it 180, or I can just clone this one and just slide it over on the Y. So I think I'll do it that way. So I'll clone this one, this group. Yeah, and we'll make this, just take a 0 out of it. Go 04. Okay. And then we need the Y on this one. So I want to slide it on the Y over to here. Copy that Y. And then... Actually, I'm sorry. I copied the wrong one. I need this Y. Did it backwards. So copy this Y over to this number 4. Which is right here. Paste that into here. There. Slides it right over there. Now this unmapped, I can hide that. Like so. There. Now I've got clone copies of that original one that I mapped. Each corner there, like that. So they're all uniform. Don't have to worry about mapping each one of them independently. So that much is done. Okay. So yeah, as far as if you look at our items list now, we've got mapped, and we've got a 2, 3, and 4. Now if I want to rename this to 0, 1, I can do that, just to keep it consistent. And then really these ones that I've got hidden, I don't need them anymore. As far as all these, I don't need them anymore. Wait a minute, do I still have... Hold on a minute. How come I only got 3? Just a minute here. So I got the 4 here. I should have 4 of them in here. How come I only got 3? Hold on a minute. So this one is... Okay, where's that one at? So this unmapped. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and just delete these. Don't need them anymore. Okay. Unhide. But I should have 4 of these. Technically. Actually, no. No, I wouldn't, because I mapped the first one, so I didn't have any reason to have, so I would only have 3. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I would only have 3. Yeah, so we do this unmapped over there. We don't need that one anymore. Unhide. Unmapped. Yep, so we don't need those anymore. That's all we need right there now. Cool. Marvelous. So I think what I'll do at this point, I'm going to go ahead and unhide. I don't have these marked here, but I'm going to... This is part of that sign. The welcome sign. And then what I'll do at this point, since I got it this far, I'm going to go ahead and save the scene. Save my work. I do have auto saves, I guess, set on there, but I like to save them manually just to make sure. Okay, so where are we at stream-wise here? We are approaching 2 hours into the stream there. I'm going to take a short little bio break, and I'm going to come back and do a little bit more work on this. We'll do some more texturing to the model, as far as with the blue arches and all that stuff. But if you give me just a minute, I'll be right back. So don't go nowhere. Alright, folks, we're back. Thanks for just a little bit of a bio break there. Okay. Yeah, I went and checked outside too to see what air temperature wise. It's a balmy 35 degrees out. It's a little bit nipply out, but I guess that's to be expected, I guess, for this time of year. So it's glad to be inside and be out nice and cozy. See where we left off here. What do we want it? See, did my playlist stop? Yep. Get that back going again here. Yeah, a little bit different playlist, I guess, that I usually go for. I guess that's still provided by Technoac, so a little bit different than what I usually use on the Saturday streams anyway. So where we're at now, I guess with this one here, I want to apply more of the texturing. One of the textures I know I do need too is I want to create this as a cement keystone. So I probably want to have some type of cement texture onto our texture that we have here. So let's back this up here. Somewhere in this mess here I want to put a cement into this thing here, and I can probably just put this like below here. So I still have some of this brown area I don't have used up. So if I was to collapse this model together and get a, in fact I can kind of do that. Let me, now that I think of that, I want to get some wire meshes in here into the texture so that I know what's actually used and what's not. And the way I can do that is to I'll probably have to ungroup these again, at least this one here. Now the way this is done now that I've got these cloned the way I do, it's going to be using the same real estate of the texture, so it's going to be not spread out, I guess, on the texture. It's going to be all using the same texture area. I don't know if that's going to work as far as applying ambient occlusion. I'll have to test that actually down the road, I guess, once to see if that's going to be satisfactory or not, doing it that way. Yeah, so let me go ahead and ungroup these like so, at least on this one here, and I should still have the unwrap 2 here, which is what I need. So what I will need to do in each one of these pieces here, so this has its own unwrap, this has an unwrap, that has an unwrap, and then this box here has an unwrap. So each one of these, now this one here is pretty self-explanatory. I already know where that's mapped to. Although that border there, okay, so probably what I'll end up having to do is do a wire map, I guess, of each one of these. So I want to get an idea of how much here. I gotta update this one actually. So we got that red. There we go. I need to see how much area that the wire mesh of the model is actually using up to this point. Okay, so this one I'll need. Let's go ahead and go to Tools, Render UV Template, and we've got a 2048 template. So I'll have to mark these as 2048. So other than that, I'll do a Render UV Template, and that's going to spit it out over here. I'll bring this over. So this is the render template. So once I apply that as a layer to my texture, that'll tell me what it's going to look kind of funky in here for now. And that's to be expected. So I'll just do this as a PNG, transparency, and let's do this as wire 1. Save that, and I want that with the alpha channel. Close that. Now if I bring this, open this up here. Yeah, so I got that wire mesh here saved. The only thing I'll need to do is just apply an alignment block to this. And by that, I just need to apply these to the corners here like this. So there, right up here. as long as they're opposing corners. And then what that'll do is it'll constrain it. If I don't do this, it'll apply the layer, I guess, not where it needs to go. And that's just a product of using PaintShop Pro. So I can copy that. And I'm going to put this on the very top layer. So just do paste layer. So that'll now show me what area of the wire mesh that is being. So that between that with the diamond pattern and then this over here is already used of the texture. Okay, so that much I know. And then I can take these alignment blocks out actually. Now that I got it in a position. Let's do that. Okay, so now we need. We got that, so now we need this. That, and then go into here. So that's using that area. Actually, I can go like this. Well, again, go into tools. Oh, my bad. Let's do it this way. Go to tools, render UV template. Again, 2048. That is the size of our texture, so we want to make sure that's conformed to that. Render that. It's going to spit it out over here. There's that. Save that as wire 2. PNG. And I'll be able to delete these once I get it into my layer texture. So alpha channel. I won't need to keep these once they are in the texture. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dropping some frames. Settle down. Oh, the audio should still come through here, but I am experiencing some drop frames at the moment. Seems to be settling down. Alright, seems to be settled down, so hopefully that's for those that might necessarily still be watching. Oh, James, you mentioned here you had to go check out, do some drywall mutter. No problem. Yeah, sorry I missed that there, James. That was not too long ago, actually. Cool. Appreciate you just dropping by there, at least, James. So anybody that's still remaining in the chat may experience the need to refresh, because I did drop a few frames there. So just in case if it's buffering for you and whatnot, just a fair warning. Okay, so yeah, so now that I got that spit out, I don't know, it's doing it again. Don't be doing that. Yeah, just a few more. Okay. Must be that Monday grind. Alright, so this is this wire. We're done with this one. Don't need that. Open that. Now we need wire 2. This area, and I'll just apply my alignment blocks as I did previously. Oops. Alright, so now if I do an edit, copy, edit, paste as a new layer, and I'll probably be able to merge all these together once I get them all in here. Merge them into one wire layer, just the wire template layer. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and bring them all in here independently. So now I can see how much more of the texture is actually being used. Okay. Alright, go to the next one here. So the next area would be this box here. So we'll get that, open that one up. So that one's using over here as well as that area. Okay. Get those selected. And you can either do it at the vertex layer or the poly layer, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's all selected. And then when you go to tools, render UV template, Just change it just to conform it to the texture size that you actually have, which in our case is 2048. And then just get the render UV template. And let's get spit that over here. So there's that. Save this as wire 3. PNG. Select that. Now let's change the name. Alpha channel. Close that. Good. So now I gotta comply that one now. Open this. Wire 3. Actually, wire 2 I'm done with. Close that. We don't need that. Okay, so put the alignment blocks in there so I know it conforms to that. Edit paste that above all the else. So we got this area being used. So we got between over here and over here. So we can see and get a better idea of how much of the texture area I'm actually using so far. And where I can actually apply new areas. So like for the concrete, what I was hopefully being able to use is like over in this area, like next to the red, which so far I can do that. I don't have all the areas that now the red is obviously going to be over here as far as for the finials. That's going to be pretty obvious, but I'm going to go ahead and get that wire for that so that I can have all those pieces for the castles all included in the wire here. So that's the only other piece I need is just this finial or the cap. So I'll go into here. And again, like I said, you can either do it at the vertex level or the poly layer level. So make sure that's all selected. Render UV template, change it to 2048. Like so. Render that. That's going to spit that out over here. Alright, need to save that. And we'll do that as wire 4. PNG. Alpha channel. Cool. So now we bring that into our texture template here. We're done with this one. Should be over here, yeah. It's a bit hard to see it in that way. Once I get it into the texture, should be able to see it. Yeah, it's really hard to see. It's like right over in here. Okay. Yeah, but once I bring it over a texture, it'll make more sense. All right, so copy that. Edit paste, this new layer. There, now I got all the different wire mesh, I guess, of that part of the model all included in the template here now. So I can essentially, that's probably what I'll do is I'll collapse all those different wire layers together so it's all in one layer. So now I know I have a better idea of how much area that I have to work with, so I can put a concrete area like in here. You know, like next to the red underneath the diamond pattern, for example, if I wanted to. That's kind of what I was wanting to get an idea of. Okay, so yeah, that's what I want to combine all these now. So we're going to turn off all the layers that I don't want to combine. So I should have the 4 layers for the wire. Yep. So there's that one, that one, that one, that one. So these are all the ones I want to combine. Okay, so I'll do layers, merge, oops, visible. So now if I bring all these back, now I'll have the wire just in one layer. And I'll actually rename this as wire. That way I know what that belongs to. Now I can kind of relabel these, like these are, I'll just rename this as logos. This one here is the red. Just kind of label these layers somewhat. This is the white. This one here is the brown. And lastly it would be the blue. Yep, so just label that blue. Very good. So I'll just label that up. Now from this point I can kind of save this texture as a PSD. That way I have that. Save over the one I had. Cool. Now I have that saved as a template with the layers as well as the texture is based on that. I don't need the wire in the actual texture. I just need that. So now the only thing I needed the wire for was just to determine what area of the texture I have to work that I can put something. Also in this case I need a concrete texture for the keystones. I'll probably put it somewhere in this area where it's not touching. I can put it here, I can put it in any of these areas where the wire is not being used. Okay, so, and I'll probably do some cleanup on this, the placement of these things. I might put this closer over here so it's all more to one side. Either bring it all over here or put it all on this side. That way I'll have the center section completely available. I can probably even do that as we speak. Now that I know what's going on here, I can actually do that. I might just do that right away. Just to put those all in one area. And I'll have the center section to use. Not that I will need to, I'll put the cement in that whole entire area, but at least I'll have that whole entire area here to use then. Not just have this all by itself here in the brown. Okay, so yeah, let me do that. Kind of make some adjustments here. And that can be easy because I still got all these, whoops, all these individual groupings here. I got this ungroup for now. But as far as the change in the mapping of this, and I'll have to re-clone these, which is not a big deal once I remap them, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So that's selected. I'm going like this, go over here, and I want to move that, and I can kind of eyeball this in a way. I know I've got an area right in here. Let's see here. So I'm going to kind of use this as a guide as to where I can put that. As long as I can put this more over to this direction, that should be good. So we'll keep it more to the top. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this actually. So if I go like this, just make sure these are all selected. Move this right over here. Keep this more to the top. And then once I do a new wire, I'll spit that one out there, put it in here. I'll be able to delete this out. And then put a new layer in for this new wire location. And I'll see exactly where it's at. And if it's too close, I'll adjust it. But this should be okay. Could probably even go so far to go like this. That should be good. So now what I'll do here is I'll select all this. Do the same thing I did before, is just render UV template, change it. That's already a 2048 from the previous creation of it. Render that. Grab this over here on my other monitor. Save that. We'll just do this as wire 5. Like so. PNG. I'm just making adjustments to the mapping of this thing to get it more confined, I guess, in that end, and freeing up some space on the actual texture overall, so that's not all spread out like it was. Okay, so now we put that over here. Now if I open up that wireframe here, put the alignment blocks to it. That. Copy that. And I want to put this to the top. Paste the layer. So now it kind of shows that. Ooh, that's close. Maybe a little too close. That might actually be too bad. There's enough padding there. May not be too much, but you can get the idea here. They're not entirely touching. That's pretty close. Now if I wanted to, I can go even further just to kind of move this up a little bit more, so it's not quite, give a little bit more padding on that. That's probably what I'll do. I'll just grab these polys here and move that up a little bit so it's not quite touching this as much. Give it a little bit more breathing room. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Okay. So I'll leave that one in here for now. So what I'll do while I got this still selected, go into here, zoom in on this, and I'll just move this up by grabbing these polys. Let's move it up closer to this here, and we should be good. Perfect. So I'm going to select all that, render a new template. Okay. Save that. We'll do that as wire 6. All these will end up being able to delete after. I don't need to keep these. Again, once they're in the actual layered texture template, we won't need it anymore. Okay. So make sure close that out. This should be the last adjustment. Bring wire 6. Alignment blocks. Ah, I knew it was going to do that. That happens every once in a while. You don't get it completely blocked off here in the corner. There we go. Those alignment blocks don't need to be perfect, just enough to be able to constrain it on opposing corners. Paste this as a new layer. Okay, so we should be able to zoom in and we'll see that difference. So if I hide this one, so you can see now it's not touching as much. That should work just fine. That'll be just fine. So now here I can delete this one and then combine these two. So layers, merge, visible. I'll have to rename this as wire again. So now we have an updated wire. And to include what I can do now, since this is not in this area anymore, and this new wire layer, I can take this out. That's no longer in that position. Okay, and I can also take these alignment blocks out just to clean her up, like this, and on the other corner. There. now we got a wire, so now we know what area we can work with, I guess, as far as putting our cement texture for the keystones. So like I said, I can put it here, put it in the center section here, probably either here or up in this area. So we need to find a sample of a concrete texture. So what I'll do is I'll bring up my window. Let's close this up here, and we'll just open up a new window here, and we'll do a search for a concrete texture. So we'll just do a simple Google search for concrete texture. I don't typically really have a particular place that I go, I guess, for textures. I just tend to Google that, go into images here, and just look at the different options here. What I do primarily want to find is something that doesn't have a lot of shading to it, or a ton of grunge to it. So like something like this would probably work pretty good. It's pretty simple. Yeah, it just doesn't have a lot of grunge or shading to it, like something like this would, or this one. So something that obviously would look like concrete, but it doesn't have a lot of shading. So this was not too bad either. This one's pretty decent. Nice size. Yeah, we'll probably go with this one. Let's go ahead and save this one, and I'll just kind of shorten the name up here a little bit. Let's call this one concrete. Concrete sample. That sounds good. Now let's put that on the desktop, and then we'll bring that into our texture here. So we'll go to the desktop and navigate to where we saved it. So now from here we can take that. Now I can, obviously this is a pretty big sample. Whoops, this is a pretty big sample. I don't need to keep it that size. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, and we'll put this above the red layer. So we'll do an edit paste as a new layer. So yeah, I definitely want to resize this. I don't want it to use that much area, so I can just do a deformation and size this down a little bit. That's still a little bit big. So I might make it just about the same size as this this pattern here. That'll probably do. That's not too bad like that. That's reasonable. There. So that's what I can use for the keystone texture. So with this, I'll go ahead and do a layers, merge all flatten, and then save that as a new DDS. DDS, and I want that as a DTX5, generate bitmaps. Minimize that. Cool. Now what we'll probably do in Max here is just, oh, it actually didn't. Nice. What the heck is going on with that? Okay, so let's go into here. We're going to update all these textures in here. Take the map there, so that's including the concrete in there. It's good. Go to here and reload this. Okay, not sure why it's. Oh wait, did I include the? I did include the wire in it. Whoops, my bad. Whoops. See, I included the wire in with the texture, so I forgot to turn that one off. No worries. So I'll just back this up. Wonder why I was doing that. So we need to turn the wire off, and then do layers merge all flatten. File, save as. Daily arch. Good. Okay, so let's try that again. So if we go here, yeah, so I had the wire still included in there. Update map. And reload. Yeah, that's better. Much better. So just open that up here. So yeah, now the wire's not included in the texture. Marvelous. Okay, so now that we have that in the texture, I'll be able to select this here. These aren't grouped or anything. These are just individual keystones, 2 individual keystones. So I'll be able to apply that texture now that that's in there. And I mean, even if it wasn't in there, I could still apply the texture, but now that I know I have something to map, area to map, so that's applied to the keystone. Now I need to apply an unwrap. Like so. Get the green lines. Like that. See, now I'll be able to put this entire thing. And I'll go to the poly level, select it this way, and let's try a flat map. That'll look like this. That's actually not terrible. I can shrink this down. So what I can do is shrink this down, like so, to fit right in here. I'm going to put this as much in this corner as possible, and I'll use the other corner for the other keystone. Like so. Now we should be able to see that texture applied to it. Now whether or not that was show too big, you know, as far as it's kind of overscaled, let me render this really quick and see. Whoa, why is it showing so white? Hold on a second. Second here. What the heck? Oh, there we go. Yeah, we got a little, this a little too bright here, so we're gonna tone this down just a little bit. Put that somewhere in the middle there. Background cover, we'll leave it black. Now let's render it. Man, it's still looking washed out. What the heck? What the? Okay, so I'm just going to play around with this a little bit more. Global tinting, we could probably adjust that too. There we go. So it's kind of taking some of that brightness out of there. That's a little better. It's a little washed out yet still, but a little more tweaking. A little bit more to the dark side. Not sure why that's still so bright. Let's change the angle here a little bit. Huh. Not really sure why it's showing so darn bright. Let's adjust the background color. There we go. Let's tone this down a little bit. And we'll do the global tinting a little bit more. That's a little bit better, I guess. Oh, so it's kind of making the blue look a little funky there. That doesn't actually look too bad. Yeah, from what I'm seeing in the viewport here, that's pretty much the same thing as in the render. It's not too shabby. Well, one thing I did not create yet, I've got to put some plates on the ends of these metal beams and some type of hardware that go into the keystone. Add a little bit more detail to that. Okay, so that's one keystone. Now I can do the same thing like I did with the, and I'll still need to do that actually, now that I think of it. I haven't recloned, now that I remapped that, I'm going to need to reclone these because these are mapped wrong now based on yep. So I'll need to reclone these here and put those into position. So I'll do that before they come up. But with this keystone, I can do the same thing here. I can basically just clone this one, do a 180 on it, and get the Y of that location, and just put it over there. Now this is all mapped. I think that's what it'll do. So we'll take a clone, do an edit clone, do a copy, and I'm going to make this as keystone. Yeah, so I have them 1 and 2. Forgot how I named those. Yeah, so I'll just do this as a 2B. Yeah, I'll do this one as a 2B. Like that. And then, like I said, I'll get this Y after I it is on 2B, so I'll get the Y. So I'll need to slide it over on the Y and then just rotate it 180 with an angle snap. Actually, I need this Y, my bad. I need to get this Y. Got a habit of doing that. So I'm going to copy this Y. I need that to move that 2B, keystone 2B, which is our clone, to that Y coordinate. Paste. So it'll put it over there, but I need to still rotate it 180. So I'll do angle snap, just on rotate, and just do it 180 degrees. So, and now the other keystone that I had in there, the keystone 2, I can delete that. Now I have a mapped clone of that one there. Models. Okay, so now I'll rename, now that I got that deleted, I'll just name this keystone 2. Cool, and I still have the unwrap modifier to it, which I don't really need to have it anymore. I can just collapse that. So I'll just, actually I'll do it this way. Do it, collapse to all, hold it, yes. Collapse to all, hold yes. So that's mapped. Now what I need to do is go back to these here. I need to reclone these. Yep, to replace that remapping that we did of that texture on the bottom half of the castle. So I'm going to keep that one there. I still have this one grouped. No, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse these as all. Collapse all, yes. Just collapse these, all these modifiers. We're all good with that texture mapping. Alright, so that's collapsed. That's collapsed. That's collapsed. This is not collapsed yet. Okay. And I only need to do it to this one. So I'm going to clone it once I group it together. So we need to group that, this, and that. So group that all together. And I'll name this castle. New. That'll work. And then, much the same as we did before, I'm going to go ahead and clone this group now. Copy. And that's fine. I'll leave this, in fact, I'll just do this as 2. So I'll be cloning this 3 times. Alright, so we need to get that X, and then I'll have to rotate it 180. But I at least need to get the X. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm getting the wrong one. I need this X. That's the coordinate of the X I want there. And then that new 2, move it to that X coordinate. For starters, and then I need to rotate it 180. Like this. Like so. Now for some reason, hold on. Let's see. Recopy this X. Might have to center that. There we go. So when I rotated that, it set it off there. So I just had to reset the X. So that should be in that proper position. So now the other one I had there. So the new is the one I want to keep. So this one I don't need anymore. And we can go bye-bye. So now it's our newly mapped one. And the way I can tell that is that bottom half is not white. Doesn't have that texture. It's got the proper texture on it. That's how I know that's fixed. Okay, so now I need the Y on this one. And I need to clone this. And we'll name this one U3. That should work. That's fine. Alright. Just making sure I got new 3 selected. And then paste that Y. Like so. And that should be already in place. Shouldn't have to do anything more to it. So now this map 3 is the old one, so we'll take that out. Now we got the new one in place. So now what I'll do is on this one I'll need to clone this again and slide that over on the Y here. And I can do it one of two ways. I could take this one, rotate it 180 and get it on the X, or just clone this one and copy the Y of this coordinate. So either way. So I'm going to copy the Y on this one. Need that coordinate. Then I'll clone this one again. That's fine. And then paste coordinate of that one. Like that. And that's our new position. Simple as that. And then we can delete this one now. There we go. So just a matter of that. So we got brand new textured castles on each corner just by simple cloning. Did the same thing with the keystones. So the keystones are mapped to the texture. All the castles are mapped to the texture. Next thing I would need to do is just map the arches themselves, as far as the beams and whatever, to the texture. So I'll need to ungroup that. I'm going to go ahead and save this scene as it sits right now. And save all my work. Cool. So we're moving right along. So now it's a matter of I just need to ungroup these. I got these all grouped. And I'll probably do this much the same thing as I did to the castles. I can map the one beam, and since that's a direct replication of the one, once I get this map, I'll be able to clone that and put it in the position of the X on this one. Shouldn't have to rotate it or anything like that either. Okay, so I need to ungroup it first. Yeah, go ahead and ungroup this. Now I have some little pieces in here, which I can probably collapse those actually before I do this. Yeah, let me do that. So I got this piece and this piece. I'm going to go ahead and collapse these together. So that, and these plates. Got these plates in here. I'm going to go ahead and collapse these. In fact, I got a better idea. I have a better idea. So let me get this all selected first. I'm gonna make a copy of this group. I want to make a yeah, copies. I'm gonna regroup this really quick here. Yeah, do that. Got a method to my madness here. Okay, so on this one here, I want to make a clone of this, so I have something to go by. So I'll do this. That's fine. And then what I'll do is on that group, I'm going to hide it. Actually, I'm going to rename it too. So I'll do this as Arch Group 1. Okay. And I'm going to hide that one. This is basically going to leave me a copy of that. So once I collapse this all together, if that doesn't work out for me, later on I'll have that one to refer to as far as still having the individual pieces. Just kind of saving myself some headache of having to separate that all again if I need to. So I'll have a copy of that group. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to ungroup this. So now what I can do is collapse this all together. Select these all and collapse it. But I'll have that clone group. I'll have a clone of that group before I do that. At least anyway. So there's a plate over here. So I want to collapse that all together. Like so. And I'm going to convert to double poly. Just getting into the habit of that, like I said, as far as you get more options with an editable poly than you do an editable mesh. So if I needed to do anything with that, I'll already have it in editable poly if I do that. Okay, so now from here, now that I got this all collapsed and I got it in editable poly, I can apply the texture to it. This texture right here, I'll apply that to it, and I can tell how that it is applied because you can see it's mismapped. So I can apply the unwrap modifier like so, and then open up the UVWs and go. Okay, so now what I can do here, you can see the vastness of this deal. I'm gonna go to the poly level, select all that, and I'll probably end up going with flat map. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we have. So in a flat map, this is how it looks, and I think that's probably what I'll go with. That's probably what I'm gonna go with. And I'm gonna put all that down in this blue area. So now when I go to ambient occlusion, when I go to apply ambient occlusion to that, all the blue for the arches, which is the main part of the structure, is going to be all in this blue area. Just like that. And that'll be cloned too, so once I do apply that ambient occlusion to it, it's going to be cloned on the one on the opposing one as well. Now the only other area I need to consider as far as for these beams here, and that probably won't need as much room. I can probably actually half those out now that I think of it, and by halving it out I mean to go like this, put that down here like this, and put this more towards the bottom. So now I'll have this top half, whatever, for those cross beams, just like that. Okay, so now that's textured. Yeah, so let's do this. We're going to ungroup these. These, I'll probably do the same thing. I got these in a group, so I'll make a clone of this one before I group it. Alright, so we'll do that. And then I'm going to hide that one. same, so hide. And let me see what I got in here in hidden stuff. Okay, so I did it as an arch group, that's why. So this one I could probably rename. Yeah, let me do that. Let me bring this back. I want to rename that real quick. So these are going to be cross beams. Cross beams group. Yeah, I'll do cross beams group. Cool. So now I'll be able to hide that. Now it'll just make a little bit more sense as far as what I'm dealing with. So I got a arch group run, backup, and a cross beams group backup. Okay, so now this group here, I'll be able to ungroup it. And then I need to collapse all these together as one piece. So I'm going to select these each individually like so. Actually, let me go back here one. I had them all selected. So just like that. So now I can collapse these all as one piece. And I got that copy of the grouped the grouped one as it is. Just did. So now I have this all as one piece. I'll leave the name of that. That's fine. And then convert this to an editable poly. And then to go even further with this, I'm going to go ahead and center this like so. And I can probably do the same on this one. This one should be fine, but I'll go ahead and center the model. So I just need a little bit of adjustment there. So just center those two. Now I can take this collapsed group here, apply the texture, like so. And I can tell it is because it's mismapped. And again, I want to apply an unwrap modifier. Get the green around it. So now we go into here, texture. Alright, go to the poly level, select all that. And I can confirm in the viewport I got all of it selected. Very nicely. Cool. Now I can just go into here and apply flat mapping to that one as well. Okay. And then what I can do is half that out. Holy Moses, look at how big that is. Okay, no biggie. Not a big deal. So what we can do is actually scale this down. And I'm going to keep this towards the top half here. Gonna spread this out here. And I'll make another wire mesh of this so I know how much room. But roughly put this at half. So the other half is going to be the main arches there. And then these will be the beams. But I knew the blue was going to be the biggest portion. That's why I wanted to keep as much of the blue area as possible. The other areas weren't needed. We don't need as much room for those, as I've already shown. The blue is going to take the majority of the real estate of the texture. And this is really going to help as far as the ambient occlusion factor to it, like I said. In fact, what I can do at this point is spit out a UVW template. Yeah, let me do that. So let's go Tools. Actually, I got to get it all selected. On the poly level, let's do it on the poly level. Tools, render UV template, put it to 2048. And we'll add that to our texture template. Okay. Save that. Let's do it as wire 7. PNG. It's alpha channel. Cool. And then we'll bring that into our texture. I'm gonna back this up. Okay, we're good on that. We don't need that anymore. Got that into our texture. Got all these other wires in here which we don't need. We're done with those. Okay, now we'll open up this wire. Wire 7. And again, I'll have to put my alignment blocks into it. Starting to get to the point where I'm getting a little bit hungry, so may not go for very much longer. We've got quite a bit done. Lots of progress to this. Yeah, it's fine. Ah, you dirty rat. Alright, let me back that up. Sometimes hard to get that whole corner, I guess, covered there so that you can actually fill it in. There we go. Copy that, and then we want to make sure we're above the wire layer. And paste that as a new layer, so now we can see how much area of the texture that's using. So I'm going to take out the alignment blocks. Like so. So now we got that in there. Okay, we'll close this. Now we'll get the wire for the arch. I still need to clone that to the other side, but that's one step at a time. So I'm going to get the UV template for this. So go into there, and either at the vertex or the poly level, doesn't matter. I'll just go poly level as long as it's selected. Render UV template, adjust it to 2048. Like so. There all that messes. So let's save that. Do that as wire 8. Oops, just gotta select the format. PNG. Alpha channel. Perfect. Close that. Bring that into our texture. Just making sure I'm not painting the actual wire. It's pretty close to the corner. Alright. Copy that. Paste that as a new layer. So there we go. So I can see how much separation I have between where I've got the cross beams and that, so they're not touching each other, so that's good. So now I have all the wire so far as everything that's texture mapped onto the texture. So close that, and then I'll go ahead and collapse. I need to combine all these wires same to one layer. Alright, I want to take the alignment blocks out first. I don't have to right now, I can after, but go ahead and do it right now. Now I can go layers, merge, visible, rename this to wire. There. Now I have a complete wire of everything that's texture mapped based on the model. So I still have plenty of area space in here that I don't have anything. I'm using this area, this area. The only area that I'm not using is basically this area right in here, which is pretty good optimization of the texture, really. There's probably going to be some other things I still need to map. The hardware for the bolts, for the keystones, things like that. So I'll have this area to work with, I guess, as far as to be able to do that. So the fact that I still have some area to work with, that's good. I think I've optimized the use of that texture template pretty good. Okay, now what I need to do is clone this. I can actually collapse all this down. So do collapse to all, hold yes, and yep, that should be good. So now I'll be able to clone this and basically get the X coordinate for this one. Get the X coordinate for this one. Okay. And with this one collapsed, and I should be able to delete this one once I get that into position. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and rename this one as Arch 1. Like so. So with that coordinate there, got that X copied. Oops, my bad. Actually, I can collapse this one too while I'm at it. We're all done with that. Collapse all, yes. Perfect. And I'll mark these here as cross beams. Yeah, just mark those as cross beams. Good. Now, I want to make sure I've got this X, because that's where we want to move the clone of this one over to there. So I need that X coordinate. Bring that over here, and I'll clone this. Copy. And we'll do this as Arch 2. Let's take out the zeros on it. Like so. And then paste on Arch 2. We have that selected. Paste that X. So that'll move that over there. So now that previous object that we had, which was I forgot which group that one was now. Actually, I'm going to rename this one Castle News. This will be 01. Make those consistent. Alright, so that previous one was what's 27? 27. I think that's what it was right there, was 27. Yep, that must have been the previous one. There's a 27. 29 is the sign. 30 is that. Okay. Just double checking everything here. Group 31 is the other sign. 32, that's the text. Yep, so this group 27 I don't need anymore. Just delete that. So now this is the new textured one as far as the Arch 2. So I got Arch 1, Arch 2, oh, my cross beams, and then the Arch 2. All texture map now. So that's pretty much all I wanted to really go over with. As far as texturing this in here, that's still, I can probably just leave that as a diffuse color as opposed to actually texturing it. But if I wanted to match more of the color, I guess, of this, I could probably do that. I might even go so far, I guess, to resize how much these finials are taking, these pinnacles or whatever, so that I can put the the coloring for the border of these signs, as well as the textures, the text itself. I can put that in that red area as well. That's probably something else I could do, other than, like I said, just adjusting the actual color to it this way, based on what color it is here, based on the RGB values. I could probably do that as well. So more than one way, I guess I could go about that, as far as applying the color to these two signs. But for the most part, that's the only thing that's not texture mapped as of yet, is these signs. Everything else is texture mapped between the keystones, the two arches, the cross beams, and each of the castles. Those are all texture mapped now. So if we render this, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we have here. So I don't know why that's whitewashing that so bad. That's pretty interesting. So let's go into the environment. Not really sure why it's doing that. Let's go here. Let's add a little bit more to this. I don't know if that's going to be counterproductive, but let's see here. I'm not really sure why that's whitewashing it like that. I'll have to figure that out, but local tinting, let's put this, I'll darken this right up here. Let's kind of play with some things here a little bit. Yeah, I guess I'll have to figure that out as far as the rendering of it, but that's just the rendering. That's not actually how it's going to look. That's just based on this rendered lighting. Might have something to do with some of my other settings here. Let's try if I save this like that. Nope. So I'm not really sure why it's whitewashing it like that. I'll have to look at some of the settings for that, but in any case, this looks pretty decent. I'm kind of happy with it. The fact that I wanted to at least get the majority of this texture mapping and that much closer to being able to apply any occlusion to it, which will just be like general shading. As far as right now, it doesn't have anything as far as shading. It's, you can see based on the texture, it's just a solid color. So once I get the ambient occlusion applied to it, it'll actually have shading to it. And regardless of wherever this happens to be applied, you know, into what type of game or simulation or whatever type of application you want to apply the structure to, you'll have that shading layer, I guess, applied to it if you want. If not, then you can take it or you can necessarily remove it. So that'll be the next step I'll apply to this. But for now, I know I've been streaming a little over 3 hours, and it's been pretty fun. I've had a lot of got a lot accomplished today. Probably a little bit more than I actually expected. But I'm to the point now where I need to get me some grub. So I appreciate everybody that stopped by, see what I had going on here. For all the lurkers in there, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Whether or not I will make this a regular schedule as far as to do this on Mondays, not 100% sure. Just happened to be a lazy Monday, and I just happened to be doing some modeling in that laziness process there, I guess you could say, as far as not wanting to do anything outside or anything like that. I mean, it's so cold, so I just figured I'd go ahead and throw the stream up and see and show that off, I guess. So again, appreciate everybody that did stop by. And we had Racer James in here, Con Wolfpack was in here, Baba Bonk stopped in for a little bit, kind of see what we had going on here, and hope to see you again soon next time. Bye for now.